Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Smackdown and AEW Rampage review. Smackdown tonight was from the PNC Arena in Raleigh, North Carolina, while Rampage was taped from the Target Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And Smackdown tonight, I thought it was a very good show. Really enjoyed Smackdown tonight. The pacing of the show was good. It was very fast paced. The first hour was good. The second hour, just as entertaining as the first hour. It just made for a very good show tonight. But tonight on SmackDown, we saw the first round in the Women's Tag Team Championship Tournament, where we saw Smiley Raquel Rodriguez, and Aliyah versus Shotzi and Xia Li. We also saw Drew McIntyre in action. He ended up teaming up with Madcap Moss to take on the Usos. And in the main event, we had the Intercontinental Championship on the line. Gunther defended the title against Shinsuke Nakamura. And I'm like, holy shit, the Intercontinental Championship is being defended in the main event. When was the last time WWE actually had the Intercontinental Championship in a main event match? I can't remember when. But it's been a while since the Intercontinental Championship was in the main event on WWE television. And also tonight, we saw the return of Hit Row. B-Fab, Top Dollar, and Ashanti Adonis. They end up returning to WWE and on SmackDown tonight. Surprisingly, I was thinking that B-Fab wasn't going to return for Hit Row. It was just going to be Top Dollar and Ashanti Adonis. But surprisingly, she was there tonight. And of course, the team is, in my opinion, not going to flow very well without Swerve, and I'll get into that as I talk about Hit Row returning, because they were in a match to end up taking on two local jobbers. But overall, SmackDown, very good show tonight. Very entertaining. But let's jump right into the review. SmackDown opened up tonight with the first round match in the Women's Tag Team Championship Tournament. Smiley Raquel Rodriguez, and Aliyah versus Shotzi and Xia Li. And the match was tolerable, not great by any means. But we had Smiley Raquel coming out, just smiling as she made her way down. And then you had Aliyah end up making her way down, and then Shotzi and Xia Li. So the match started off with Shotzi and Smiley Raquel. They end up locking up. Shotzi ended up delivering a kick to Raquel's head. She was looking to go for a tornado DDT, but Raquel Rodriguez countered that, ended up slamming Shotzi down to the mat. So Aliyah and Xia Li end up both tagging in. And we saw Natalya and Sonya Deville watching the match from ringside. And they will face the winners in the second round next week. But Aliyah ended up slamming Xia Li down to the mat. She delivered a crossbody off the apron. And Raquel Rodriguez and Shotzi ended up taking out Natalya and Sonya Deville on the floor. So as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Xia Li was in control of the match. She was taking on Aliyah. Shotzi tagged in. She ended up dropping Aliyah on her head. Xia Li ended up tagging back in, and she ended up going for the pin, and Aliyah ended up kicking out. Shotzi ended up tagging back in, ended up sending Aliyah down to the mat. Shotzi then tagged back in Xia Li, and she was looking to go for a vertical suplex, but Aliyah ended up countering that, and she delivered a neck breaker to Xia Li. So Aliyah then ended up making the tag to Raquel Rodriguez. Shotzi then tagged in, and we had Raquel end up delivering 2 fallaway slams to Shotzi. And then after Raquel ended up hitting the second fallaway slam, she ended up delivering the spinning elbow splash to Shotzi. Shotzi ended up sending Raquel Rodriguez into the middle turnbuckle, and then she delivered a suplex. So Shotzi ended up going for the cover. Raquel ended up kicking out. Xia Li tagged in, and Raquel Rodriguez delivered the Tahana Bomb on Xia Li. And she ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Raquel Rodriguez and Aliyah ended up winning the match. But overall, match was tolerable. Wasn't great or perfect by any means. But I don't know why we're having a tournament for the Women's Tag Team Championship. The Women's Tag Team titles should have been retired. There's no need for Women's Tag Team Champions. There's no need. Triple H should just retire the titles. It's just a waste. So that's my opinion. Women's Tag Team titles, there's no use for them. So then we saw Karrion Kross and Scarlett backstage. Karrion Kross and Scarlett end up making their return last week on SmackDown, where Karrion Kross ended up taking out Drew McIntyre. Scarlett ended up placing the hourglass in the ring, with the bloodline in there, syndicating that, Roman's time as the undisputed WWE Universal Champion is almost up. So, Karrion Kross ended up saying last week was the rebirth of a darkened soul. And it must be nice for Reigns and McIntyre to be the chosen ones. Kross ended up saying that they waited for the perfect time to strike. And in the end, everyone pays the toll. So he ended up saying TikTok. And so Karrion Kross was spying on Drew McIntyre as McIntyre ended up making his way out to the ring. And that was that. But overall, very good promo from Karrion Kross. Happy to see Kross back along with Scarlett. And that's the right way to go, having Scarlett by his side. Because when Vince McMahon bought up Karrion Kross, he fucked him up right from the get-go. And we all know how that went. Vince McMahon bought up Karrion Kross to Monday Night Raw from NXT right from the get-go. No Scarlett as he came out. Then he loses his first match on his very first night on Monday Night Raw to Jeff Hardy. And then we saw them give him a mask which made him look like fucking Shredder from the Ninja Turtles, and they put him in suspenders. I don't understand how Vince fucked up with Karrion Kross. Yet Triple H here is doing everything right. Karrion Kross returns. He has Scarlett by his side, which is the way to go. Triple H knows how to do it right, and Vince fucked him up. And Karrion Kross is the number 2 heel next to Roman Reigns on SmackDown. But like I said, very good promo from Karrion Kross. And then we saw Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre ended up making his way out. He got on the mic. He ended up saying that it's an exciting time in the company and a time for new faces. Yes, it is an exciting time in the company because we're seeing changes little by little thanks to Triple H. And I expect to see, changes happening in the new year. It's little baby steps here and there of Triple H changing everything with the product, and I expect, changing the product to come next year in full. So McIntyre ended up addressing Karrion Kross, with Kross end up attacking him last week. He ended up saying that he took a major opportunity. McIntyre ended up saying that the only problem is that the number one contender happened to be him. He ended up saying that he has 3 choices: knockout, hospital, or graveyard. McIntyre ended up saying that he will send Kross back to the dungeon he crawled out of. McIntyre then went on to address the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, and he ended up saying that Roman isn't here tonight. And McIntyre ended up saying that he believes his hype. He ended up saying that it took multiple people to beat Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, but he did it alone with his bare hands. So then McIntyre got interrupted by Karrion Kross's music, and Scarlett ended up making her way out. And the screen was in black and white. So Scarlett ended up getting into the ring. And we were thinking, Karrion Kross is going to attack McIntyre from behind. But no, we did not get Karrion Kross. We got the Usos. The Usos came out of nowhere, and they ended up attacking McIntyre from behind. They were beating McIntyre down with some forearms. McIntyre ended up fighting back up. And then the Usos ended up delivering a super kick to McIntyre, which they followed up, and they hit the 1D on McIntyre. So the Usos then looked at Scarlett and ended up telling Scarlett to tell Kross that if he steps up to the tribal chief, they will put him down. So Scarlett then ended up laughing, and she ended up telling the Usos that Kross will do the same to the tribal chief. So that was basically that. But overall, this segment was enjoyable. And then we got a video package, hyping up the Intercontinental Championship. And this was a very good video package with the Intercontinental Championship. Triple H making the Intercontinental Championship prestige again. So we got the Intercontinental Championship in the main event of the show tonight, which I said, when I said about the main event, earlier, I'm like, when was the last time you saw the Intercontinental Championship defended in the main event on WWE television? I can't remember, but it's been a long while. And then we had Shinsuke Nakamura being interviewed, where he ended up addressing Gunther, and he ended up telling Gunther to come on. So yeah, that was pretty much basically that. And then originally it was supposed to be Ivar versus Kofi Kingston. So we had the Viking Raiders end up coming out, and I'm glad that they dropped the stupid saying of the new and vicious Viking Raiders, because there was nothing new and vicious about them except for their face paint and them both carrying shields. So that's supposed to be new about the Viking Raiders? So glad Triple H ended up dropping that, because it was fucking ridiculous of them saying, here are the Viking Raiders. They're new and vicious. So the Viking Raiders end up making their way out, and Kofi Kingston appeared out of nowhere, and he ended up assaulting both Erick and Ivar with a kendo stick. So Erick then ended up using his shield to protect himself from Kofi hitting him with the kendo stick. Ivar then ended up throwing his shield at Kofi. And now we had both Erick and Ivar end up beating Kofi down. They end up sending Kofi's face into the shield. And Ivar was on top of the barricade. Ivar then delivered a splash off the barricade to Kofi. And pretty much that was basically that. Kofi was just knocked out. So that was basically that. And then, as SmackDown came back from the commercial, we saw Sami Zayn at Roman's locker room. So Sammy then knocked on the door. This is the same shit that we seen last week, where Sami Zayn was at Roman's locker room door. He ended up knocking on it, and the Usos end up answering it. So Sami Zayn ended up saying that he's been thinking about what the Usos said. And then out of nowhere, McIntyre came and beat it down on the Usos. And so McIntyre ended up saying that every single week the Usos get involved, he will beat them down. And so pretty much that was basically that. Sami Zayn just ran off as McIntyre ended up assaulting the Usos. And then we saw these local talent jobbers in the ring, named Brandon Scott and Trevor Irvin. So they were waiting in the ring, and then we had the surprise return of Hit Row. You had B-Fab, Ashanti Adonis, or Ashanti the Adonis, and Top Dollar. They ended up making their way down, and pretty much this was basically a squash match. You had Brandon Scott and Top Dollar start off the match. Top Dollar delivered a shoulder tackle, which he followed up with by a cannonball in the corner to Brandon Scott. And then at the end, you had Hit Row end up delivering the heavy hitter on Irwin, and that was that. So Hit Row ended up winning the match. Post-match, we had B-Fab get on the mic. She ended up asking the crowd if they missed them. No, I didn't miss Hit Row. So they ended up reintroducing themselves. B-Fab introduced herself, and then Ashanti the Adonis, reintroduced himself, and then Top Dollar. So they ended up saying that if fans didn't know who they were, now they do. So pretty much that was basically that. But Hit Row, I don't see them succeeding on the main roster, but Triple H could have, something good for Hit Row and book them correctly. But we all know Hit Row was made up of B-Fab, Ashanti the Adonis, Top Dollar, and Swerve Strickland. And Swerve was the focal point of Hit Row. He was the glue to them. And when you think of Hit Row, when they were down NXT, who was over in that group? It was Swerve. He was more over with the crowd than Top Dollar and B-Fab and Ashanti the Adonis. And I saw on Swerve's Twitter, he looked happy to see B-Fab and Ashanti the Adonis and Top Dollar return. But it's not going to be as strong as when Swerve was with the group. But if WWE wants to add, two guys to Hit Row, if they get called up to the main roster from NXT, my prediction, I would like to see Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams be a part of Hit Row. Once Carmelo Hayes loses the North American Championship, that would be the right time to bring up Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams and just add them right into Hit Row. I see that Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams would fit good in Hit Row, in my opinion. But that's my prediction. And then we saw Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser backstage. Gunther was being interviewed. He ended up saying that Shinsuke Nakamura will suffer at the hands of the ring general. So, pretty much, that was basically that. And then we had the contract signing for Liv Morgan and Shayna Baszler. Smackdown Women's Championship on the line at Clash at the Castle. And so we saw Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey ended up coming through the crowd and came into the ring. And she had a bag in hand. Ronda grabbed the mic. She ended up saying that she knows she isn't supposed to be here. And she was over with the crowd here tonight. They were chanting her name. Ronda ended up saying that she was fined a lot of money. And inside the bag, she ended up dumping out what was in it. And it was a whole bunch of cash. Ronda ended up saying that it probably won't be the last time. And that being the baddest is expensive. So security ended up coming down to the ring and referees. And Ronda started taunting them. She delivered a hip toss to one of the female guards. And she was teasing, locking an armbar on that female. So then Shayna Baszler ended up coming out. Shayna ended up telling Ronda, oh, you can't do that here. You have to play by the rules. So Ronda ended up telling Shayna that she used to be a killer, referencing how dominant Shayna Baszler was in NXT. And then when she was brought up to the main roster, Vince just fucked her up. So Ronda ended up walking off. Shayna Baszler then ended up making her way down to the ring. She got on the mic. And Shayna ended up saying that everyone watched her win the gauntlet match last week. She ended up saying that Liv Morgan will be the next one to fall. Shayna Baszler then signed the contract. She ended up calling Liv Morgan out to the ring. So Shayna Baszler ended up saying that she will tear Liv Morgan apart, limb by limb. She ended up saying that she will step over her lifeless carcass to walk out of Clash at the Castle as the new SmackDown Women's Champion. So then Liv Morgan ended up coming out to the ring, still had her arm in a sling, just like what we saw last week. And Liv Morgan ended up grabbing the mic. She ended up telling Shayna Baszler that she won't beat her. So then Liv Morgan called Shayna Baszler a bootleg Ronda Rousey. She ended up saying that she knows that because she beat the real deal twice. Morgan ended up saying that she will beat Shayna Baszler in Cardiff. And Liv Morgan then ended up signing the contract. She held up the title. Baszler ended up slamming Liv Morgan's injured arm into the table. So Baszler then ended up twisting Liv Morgan's arm. Liv Morgan was screaming out in pain. Shayna Baszler then stomped on Liv Morgan's arm in the sling. And she ended up delivering a kick to it into the corner. And she ended up getting Liv Morgan up on her shoulders. Liv Morgan ended up countering it into a bulldog. And she ended up sending Shayna Baszler through the table. And that was basically that. But overall, this was just okay, in my opinion. And then we went backstage, and we saw Sami Zayn. The Usos ended up approaching Sami Zayn, ended up asking him where he was when they were attacked by Drew McIntyre. Jay ended up saying that if Sami Zayn doesn't step out, they will leave him behind. And so, pretty much, that was basically that. But this is setting up for Sami Zayn to turn face to be a baby face. Sami Zayn has been a heel for 2 years. It's time for Sami Zayn to go and be a baby face. He's been getting stale as a heel. I think it's time for a change for Sami Zayn and turn him into a baby face. And then we had Drew McIntyre end up coming out. And so we had the Usos end up coming out. The Usos got into the ring. They end up grabbing a mic. They end up telling Drew McIntyre to pick a partner of his choice and get out to the ring. So Drew McIntyre ended up making his way out. So he got into the ring. He went straight after Jimmy Uso. And this was pretty much a 2-on-1 handicap match. So McIntyre started beating Jimmy down. He then ended up sending Jay into the barricade on the outside. McIntyre then delivered a chop to Jay and sent him into the ring. So McIntyre then delivered an elbow to Jay before Jimmy ended up delivering a super kick to McIntyre from the outside. So Jay started delivering a series of stomps to McIntyre, and we had Jay end up delivering a cheap shot to McIntyre. He ended up tagging in. And then we had Madcap Moss's music end up hitting. Madcap Moss made his way down. He ended up taking Jay out with a shoulder tackle. And then Moss delivered a fallaway slam to Jimmy. And so both Moss and McIntyre ended up clotheslining both the Usos out of the ring. And so Moss officially became Drew McIntyre's partner. And so then, it was the tag team match. So as SmackDown came back from the commercial, the Usos end up having the upper hand in the match. Jay delivered a splash to Moss in the corner. Moss fired back with a spine buster to Jay. McIntyre ended up tagging in, and he started beating Jay down. Sami Zayn got into the ring. So that allowed Jay to pin McIntyre, and McIntyre ended up kicking out. Jimmy then tagged in, and the Usos end up looking to go for the 1D on McIntyre, but Moss ended up pulling Jay out of the ring, whipped him into the barricade. McIntyre ended up delivering the Glasgow kiss, and Jimmy ended up hitting him with a super kick. McIntyre ended up managing to hit the Claymore kick to Jimmy, and he ended up going for the cover. And there you go. McIntyre and Moss ended up winning the match. Post-match, Jay got into the ring. McIntyre ended up hitting the Future Shock DDT on Jay. McIntyre ended up going for the Claymore onto Jay. And Sami Zayn ended up pushing Jay out of the way. And Sami Zayn sacrificed himself and took the Claymore from McIntyre. And pretty much that was basically that. But overall, this was a good match here. Madcap Moss, now, after he ditched his gimmick with Corbin, with the stupid bad jokes, he is pretty good now. Moss, was entertaining in the ring. Overall, good match. And then we saw the Maximum Male Models. Oh, God. Why is this still on TV? So they were doing a photo shoot, Mansois and Marseille and Maxine Dupree and, of course, Max Dupree. So in came Los Lotharios, Angel Garza, and Humberto Carrillo. They have telling Max Dupree that he should hire them, since they are the most handsome tag teams in WWE. So Max Dupree ended up telling them both that they are not maximum male model material. So they ended up telling Max that they were not talking to him. but they were talking to Maxine Dupree. This was awful. Maximum Male Models need to get the fuck off TV. It is a waste. I'm like, why is this shit still on my TV? So then we saw Kayla Braxton. Kayla Braxton was backstage with Ricochet, and Ricochet ended up telling Kayla Braxton that he is more locked in now than he has been in a long time. He ended up saying that he is ready for anything, and it doesn't matter if it's Nakamura or Gunther. He ended up saying because after tonight, he will be waiting in line. He wants to get a shot at the Intercontinental Championship. So Corbin then attacked Ricochet, ended up telling him if he thought they were done, they are just getting started. So pretty much that was basically that. It looks like Corbin and Ricochet's feud is still going to continue. Main event. Gunther versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the Intercontinental Championship. Very good match. This was. Nakamura started off the match. He ended up kicking onto Gunther's legs, and Gunther ended up falling down to the mat. Nakamura then locked in a headlock. Gunther then threw Nakamura to the ropes, and Gunther laid out Nakamura with a big boot. And Gunther delivered an uppercut to Nakamura, which he followed up with a chop to Nakamura's chest. Gunther then locked in the Boston Crab onto Nakamura, and Gunther modified the Boston Crab into a STF, but Nakamura ended up getting to the ropes. Gunther then delivered an uppercut and delivered another chop to Nakamura. Gunther then ended up going for a clothesline. Nakamura ended up getting him into a armbar. Gunther then rolled out of the armbar. Nakamura ended up rolling him up, and Gunther ended up kicking out. Nakamura then delivered a kick to Gunther's head, and Nakamura delivered a right hand followed up by some kicks. So Nakamura ended up going for the cover, and Gunther ended up kicking out. Nakamura then ended up trying to send Gunther to the ropes, and Gunther delivered a chop to Nakamura's chest. Those chops to Nakamura just echoed throughout the arena, and so Nakamura went out to the outside. And as SmackDown came back from commercial, we saw Gunther deliver a German suplex to Nakamura, and then he ended up going for a powerbomb, and Gunther's right arm ended up giving up on him, and Gunther delivered a boot to Nakamura's face. He ended up climbing to the top rope. He ended up going for a splash, and Nakamura ended up getting Gunther in a triangle armbar. Gunther ended up getting to his feet, and he ended up lifting Nakamura up, and Nakamura still had the triangle armbar locked in still on Gunther. So later on, we had Gunther end up running towards Nakamura, but Nakamura ended up delivering a knee to Gunther's face. He ended up going for the cover, and Gunther ended up kicking out. So at the end of the match, we had Nakamura delivering a kick to Gunther to the back of Gunther's neck. Nakamura ended up going for the Kinshasa, but Gunther delivered a huge clothesline to Nakamura, and Gunther ended up going for the cover. Nakamura ended up kicking out. Gunther delivered another chop to Nakamura's chest, and he ended up going for the sleeper hold. Nakamura then ended up attacking Gunther's right arm as he ended up getting out of the sleeper hold, but Gunther delivered a drop kick. And then Gunther delivered the powerbomb to Nakamura. He went for the cover, and there you go. Gunther ended up winning the match, retaining the Intercontinental Championship. Overall, this was a very good match, very physical match. You know, the Intercontinental Championship was in the main event on WWE television. You know, like I said, when was the last time we've seen the Intercontinental Championship be defended in the main event? You know, it's been a long while, and Triple H is bringing prestige back to the title, which is great because the The Intercontinental Championship needs prestige back onto it. Same for the United States Championship. And Triple H has been doing a good job with that, bringing prestige back to the United States Championship. These two titles, the United States Championship and the Intercontinental Championship, lost its prestige in years when Vince was still in charge of the company and was, in creative. The U.S. Championship, the United States Championship, and the Intercontinental Championship lost its luster. And Triple H is now bringing prestige back to those titles, which is a great thing. But overall, SmackDown was a very good show tonight, very entertaining. And the return of Hit Row, it was good to see them. But hopefully Triple H, books them well. Without Swerve, being there. Moving on to Rampage, which Rampage tonight was just a very meh show, in my opinion. It was a easy, skippable show tonight. What we see on Rampage tonight, we had the AAA World Mixed Tag Team Championship on the line. Sam Guevara and Melo, Melo Yellow. They're the AAA World Mixed Tag Team Champions. They have taken on Dante Martin and Skye Blue. Parker Boudreaux, when he was once known as Harlan, he was in the match tonight against Sonny Kiss. Yeah, you all know how that match went in the outcome. We had the Gunn Club, Austin and Colton. They end up taking on Erick Redbeard and Danhausen. And the main event, it was Orange Cassidy versus Ari Daivari. But Rampage, skippable show tonight. It was just very meh, in my opinion. But Rampage opened up tonight with Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson, returning. Tony Schiavone was in the ring to interview him. It's good to see Bryan there. Bryan ended up saying that he has been wrestling 23 years, and he doesn't know if he will ever be 100%. He ended up saying that he needs to live 100%, and that he will never stop wrestling. He ended up saying that his career will not end Wednesday night against Daniel Garcia. So Daniel Garcia ended up coming down. Daniel Garcia ended up saying that it's no secret that Bryan is his hero. But his hero is given excuses. He ended up saying that Bryan can't keep putting him through this. He ended up saying that he will hurt him so bad he ends his career. He went on to say that Bryan will have to call him the greatest technical sports entertainer on the planet. So Bryan ended up saying that he's been all about violence since he got here. He ended up saying that he hates this sports entertainment bullshit. Bryan ended up saying that Daniel Garcia was one of the names he mentioned when the Blackpool Combat Club first started because of his technique in the ring. So Bryan then ended up asking Daniel Garcia if he wants to be the best technical sports entertainer on the planet or the best technical wrestler in the world. He ended up saying that he'll leave it up to him. And so Bryan then ended up leaving the ring, and that was basically that. But this promo from Bryan and Daniel Garcia was very good and leads up to the match Wednesday on Dynamite. Should be a good match there. And then we had the first match of the night, which was the AAA World Mixed Tag Team Championship on the line. Sammy Guevara and Melo. They end up defending the titles against Dante Martin and Skye Blue. And this was pretty much just a very meh match, in my opinion. So yeah, Sammy Guevara ended up pushing Dante Martin before Dante Martin ended up charging at Guevara. So we had Guevara and Martin going at it. And Tay and Skye Blue started fighting, which went to the outside. And Dante Martin and Sammy Guevara were brawling. And both guys were trading blows and chops to each other. Tay ended up tagging in, and then Skye Blue came in. Tay ended up turning to kiss Sammy Guevara, and Tay then turned around to a crossbody delivered from Skye Blue. Tay ended up coming back, ended up having Skye Blue in a neck crank. Tay ended up escaping before Skye Blue ended up hitting 2 step-up knee strikes to Tay. Skye Blue then ended up hitting an enziguri before Sammy Guevara ended up trying to trip her. And then Tay ended up delivering a pump kick to Skye Blue before choking her on the bottom rope. So Skye Blue ended up tagging in Dante Martin. He ended up taking out Sammy Guevara with a shoulder tackle and then a back elbow. And Dante Martin followed it up with a drop kick and a tope suicida to Sammy Guevara. Tay ended up grabbing Dante Martin's leg as he ended up getting into the ring. And he ended up using Tay's back to hit the Destroyer to Sammy Guevara, which was great. Dante Martin ended up going for the cover, and Sammy Guevara ended up kicking out. Guevara then ended up hitting a jumping knee strike to Dante Martin, and then Skye Blue tagged in. Tay ended up hitting a DDT on Dante Martin. Skye Blue then hit the Hurricanrana on Sammy Guevara, which was cool. And then Tay ended up hitting the Tay KO to Skye Blue. She ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Sammy Guevara and Tay Melo ended up winning the match and retaining the AAA World Mixed Tag Team Championship. Overall, just a very meh match it was. And then we saw the Lucha Brothers, Penta and Phoenix, along with Alex Abrahantes, and they were calling out Andrade El Idolo and Roosh. So they announced that Pac will return to form the Death Triangle so that they can chase after the Trios Championship. So that was basically that. And then we had Parker Boudreaux versus Sonny Kiss. Parker Boudreaux, of course, part of the Trustbusters, along with Slim J and Ari Daivari. And this was just basically a squash match. Parker Boudreaux ended up hitting a splash on Sonny Kiss, ended up hitting several uppercuts on Sonny Kiss. And Parker Boudreaux delivered a chokeslam to Sonny Kiss. And there you go. He went for the pin. Parker Boudreaux ended up winning the match. Overall, this was a squash match. Parker Boudreaux, he was once, Harlan in NXT. So, really good to see him, part of AEW. And then we went backstage. We had Andrade El Idolo and Roosh. And they had a verbal exchange with Private Party over the Trios Tag Team Championship, tournament. He ended up saying that they will win the titles. As Cassidy ended up saying that it's time to whip them up. So that was basically that. And then we saw the Gunn Club, Austin and Colton, along with their father, Billy Gunn. And they have taken on Erick Redbeard, formerly known as Eric Rowan, and Danhausen. So they were known as Beardhausen. And this was a decent match here. So we had Erick Redbeard and Colton Gunn end up starting off the match. Austin Gunn ended up tagging in. The crowd was cheering ass boys to the Gun Club. Erick Redbeard, He looked good in the match. It was cool to see him on AEW television again. Erick ended up knocking Austin down to the mat. Danhausen tagged himself in. Danhausen then ended up cursing Austin Gunn before Colton ended up taking back in. And he delivered a kick to Danhausen's midsection. And then as Rampage came back from the commercial, Austin Gunn was beating down on Danhausen. Danhausen ended up making the tag to Erick Redbeard, and he delivered a drop kick to Colton. Erick Redbeard ended up sending Austin into Colton before delivering a crossbody. So Redbeard then delivered a cannonball followed by a kick to Colton. He ended up going for the cover, and Colton ended up kicking out. Redbeard then delivered a suplex to the Guns, and then he tagged in Danhausen. So at the end of the match, we had Colton end up delivering the Famouser to Danhausen. He ended up going for the cover, and there you go. The Gun Club, Austin and Colton, ended up winning the match. Post-match, Billy Gunn ended up grabbing the mic, and he ended up asking his sons if that's what they're giving him. Billy ended up saying that he misses the Acclaimed. So he ended up announcing another match for Austin and Colton on Dynamite. So as Austin and Colton end up going to leave ringside, Stokely Hathaway was sitting there. Stokely Hathaway ended up offering the Gun Club his business card, and the Guns end up brushing him off. And that was basically that. Overall, this was a decent match here. It was cool to see Erick Redbeard on AEW television again. And then we saw Swerve in Our Glory backstage. Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee, they were with Lexi Nair. Lexi Nair ended up asking Swerve and Keith Lee about how they feel about Private Party being asked to challenge them, and saying that Keith Lee was able to take them down alone. So Keith Lee ended up asking what makes him think they can take both him and Swerve down. So Swerve ended up saying that since no ranked team will take him and Keith Lee on, Private Party can have their shot at the titles. So that's what we're going to be seeing on Dynamite this Wednesday. The AEW World Tag Team Championship on the line, with Swerve and Keith Lee defending them against Private Party. Should be a good match. Sadly, there won't be no Dynamite review this Wednesday because I will be working late. So don't expect the Dynamite review on Wednesday. And then we saw Hook. Hook ended up coming out. Of course, he's the FTW champion. He kept saying that the FTW championship is always an open challenge. And so then we had Zach Clayton. Who? As this guy came out, I'm like, who the hell is this jabroni? Apparently, he's a reality star. He was on Jersey Shore. And I'm like, great. That's what I fucking need. The guy from Jersey Shore on AEW television. But he is, of course, a professional wrestler. And he had a match on AEW Dark. I didn't even know that. I only watch AEW Dark. So he ended up coming down to the ring. He ended up saying that he will take the FTW championship off of Hook and bring it back to Jersey where he belongs. Clayton ended up saying that he would fight Hook, but his boots aren't ready. So Clayton ended up challenging Hook to a match next week on Rampage. And Hook accepted the challenge. So we're going to be seeing that next week. My God, that match is going to be fucking terrible. I could already sense it. Really? A guy who was on Jersey Shore. He's a wrestler. And we're going to be getting that next week. Great. Just great. And then we saw Mark Henry. Mark Henry was interviewing Orange Cassidy and Aliyah Daivari, before their match. And then we had the main event, of course, Orange Cassidy versus Aliyah Daivari. And this was, okay match here. We had Aliyah Daivari and the Trustbusters, Slim J and Parker Boudreaux end up coming down to the ring. And then Orange Cassidy and the best friends Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta end up coming down. Once again, Aliyah Daivari end up offering Orange Cassidy a spot in the Trustbusters. So Aliyah Daivari end up telling Orange Cassidy to lay down so he could take the pin. So Orange Cassidy then end up laying down. Daivari end up going for the pin. Cassidy end up rolling out of the way and rolled to the outside. We had the best friends then end up hugging Orange Cassidy on the outside. And we had Daivari and Orange Cassidy then end up getting back to the ring. Daivari ended up slamming Orange Cassidy down to the mat. Cassidy then ended up hitting a drop kick to Daivari. Daivari then delivered a shoulder to Orange Cassidy's midsection, and then he delivered a neckbreaker off the ropes. And then he hugged Slim J and Parker Boudreaux. And then as Rampage came back from the commercial, Daivari ended up having Orange Cassidy locked in a chokehold. Cassidy ended up managing to make it to the ropes to break up the chokehold, but Daivari ended up locking it in again, and he dragged Orange Cassidy back to the middle. Cassidy put his hands in his pockets, ended up sending Daivari into the corner. So we had Daivari and Orange Cassidy, they ended up hitting one another with a drop kick. Orange Cassidy ended up sending Daivari into the corner. Daivari fought back with a chop, and he fired down some right hands on Orange Cassidy's back. Orange Cassidy then delivered a diving crossbody, and Daivari ended up hitting a kick to Cassidy's back, which he followed up with a neck breaker. Cassidy then ended up hitting a vertical suplex, which he followed up by a super kick to Daivari. Cassidy was looking to go for the orange punch. Daivari countered that with a spine buster. So Daivari ended up going for the cover, and Orange Cassidy ended up kicking out. And at the end of the match, Orange Cassidy then delivered the orange punch to Daivari. And there you go. Orange Cassidy ended up winning the match. Post-match, we had Chuck Taylor and Trent end up coming in to make the save because the Trustbusters, Slim J, and Parker Boudreaux were beating down on Orange Cassidy. Parker Boudreaux ended up taking out Orange Cassidy and the best friends. And Sonny Kiss ended up coming out. And Sonny Kiss ended up beating down on Orange Cassidy. So Sonny Kiss ended up turning heel tonight. And pretty much that was basically how Rampage went off the air. Overall, this was a skippable edition of Rampage tonight. But SmackDown, in my opinion, shockingly to say it, was the better show. But anyways, that's it for the SmackDown and AEW Rampage review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And until the next video, I'll see you all later.